Howdy y'all and welcome. Y'all may notice I have a new camera set up, still testing it all out, trying to get everything all good to go, but let me know what y'all think. Might change the background as well, so let's go ahead and get into it here. As you can see, we have some weather headlines from July 10th through 14th basically. Flooding still occurring down in Texas, as 132 plus people have died from flash flooding down there, and many are still missing. My heart goes out to y'all down there that have been affected. Of course, there's severe weather down in the Midwest from Texas to the northern plains, which brought 70-mile-an-hour winds, ping-pong size hail, and some pretty significant lightning with that as well. And we might come in on an uptick in some severe weather here at the end of the month, getting that here in a little bit. And of course, there was a 1 in 1,000 year rainfall event from the 7th through the 13th in Texas, North Carolina, New Mexico, and Illinois, with billions in damage. Of course, in North Carolina, we had that tropical storm that hit while I was down there in Tennessee, so that was one of those events that occurred. And of course, what else is new? Heat and humidity affected much of the country during this time frame, and a tornado hit the central U.S., and of course more heat, which what else is new? So basically flash flooding, severe weather, and heat. That sums up summertime pretty much. So let's go ahead and get into the forecast of what we could expect for the next couple of weeks. And to start off, let's go ahead and take a look at the Storm Prediction Center, as we have some severe weather today actually, as there's an enhanced risk over here in Nebraska with a slight risk which extends from northern Kansas all the way into Wisconsin, and peninsula of Michigan and Wyoming, and parts of Utah are in the slight risk as well. Of course, tomorrow the slight risk pushes eastward into Illinois and Wisconsin, with a marginal risk from Michigan all the way into Wyoming and Colorado. And on good old Thursday, not much at all, which can and will change, and I'll let you know if it does change on X and Facebook, of course. Now, as far as the threats go today, all significant hazards, of course, with the main threats being hail, high winds, with the main threat being high winds, of course. There's a small threat for tornadoes, but it's a threat nonetheless, so be hyper weather aware, know where to go when that tornado warning gets issued if you live within these green zones right here. As far as on good old hump day goes, they're going to be all low wind hazards. Hail, tornadoes, and the main threat being high winds, but please be hyper weather aware. Even though the tornado threat is a low wind threat for today and tomorrow, a significant tornado can still happen on low in days. And of course, on good old Thursday, not much out there at all, but the can and will change, of course. So let's go and get into the timing real quick. I'm not going to go in depth with this to save time, but to take a look at this, we're going to take a look at the NAM 3 kilometer and zoom in here to the central part of the country. Keep in mind the date and time is right here if you want to keep track, by the way. But as we push this forward, I would expect the severe weather to start picking up at right around, I would say, 6 o'clock central through right around 10 o'clock central before it starts to fizzle out as we head into the early morning hours of hump day. Now, you can see that's going to be turning into a big old squall line at right around, I would say, 7 o'clock central. So that's when our high wind threat could start picking up. And that is the main threat, by the way. And as we take a look at the wind gusts of what we could expect, I would expect upwards of, let's say, 50 to 60, and some areas getting in on 70-mile-an-hour winds as this line starts to push eastward. So definitely could be some power outages, so make sure you have what you need. Power outage goes out and you're hyper weather aware in case that tornado warning gets issued. Make sure you have weather radio. As long as you have that, you're not too scared, but you are prepared. You can see the significant tornado parameters. This don't mean a tornado is going to happen within the whole area. It just means the tornado ingredients are very favorable. We can see that at right around, I would say, right around 9 o'clock central time is when I would expect there to be a tornado or two here in central Nebraska, and even up here in Minnesota as well. As you can see, the tornado parameters are very favorable at this time. Again, this don't mean that tornado is going to happen within all of these color zones. It just means the ingredients are favorable, like thermodynamics and kinematics, basically the temperatures and winds, basically. So again, please be hyper weather aware from what I would say 5 o'clock central time through right around, I would say, 11 o'clock central time on the safe side. If you live anywhere within these colored zones, even the marginal risk zones as well, tornadoes can still happen outside of the risk zone sometimes. Now, as far as good old hump day goes, the threat pushes eastward into Illinois and parts of Wisconsin, and the marginal risk extends all the way out into Colorado, Wyoming, up into Michigan. So let's go ahead and get into the timing for that before we get into the next couple of weeks. Now, of course, we already know about today from 5 to 11 o'clock central time. And then that pushes eastward, and I would expect the worst of the severe weather on hump day to occur from right around, I would say right around the same time frame, actually. From right around 5 o'clock through right around midnight on the safe side is when I would expect the worst of the severe weather. Now, I'm thinking there's going to be a greater tornado chance tomorrow, although it is a 2% chance they could still raise that, and regardless of the risk, please be hyper weather aware regardless. You can see that the tornado parameters are more favorable tomorrow than they are today. We can see right around a 5 out of 10 in most areas, so definitely, I would say right around 3 to 6 o'clock Central Time is when to prepare for tornadoes tomorrow. So again, know your safe spot. Storm shelter, basement closet, interior, away from windows, have a way to receive a warning through a phone, weather radio, anything. Just make sure you have a way to receive alerts and take shelter if needed. And just use your common sense, y'all. As far as winds go, that is another primary threat tomorrow. I would expect right around 30 to possibly 40 mile an hour winds as these storms start to push through. These winds aren't going to be as bad as they are today, but of course that can and will change, of course. And I will be posting on X and Facebook any updates from the Storm Protection Center as I get them. So make sure you go follow those pages for more information on the severe weather for tomorrow and even possibly today after this video is uploaded. So now that we know there's going to be severe weather in the next couple of days, let's go and take a look out here at the tropics, as there is actually a 40% chance of tropical cyclone formation down here in the Gulf and a little bit of the Atlantic as well. We can see the wording here, hopefully y'all can read this, but basically they're saying this can turn into at most a tropical depression, possibly a tropical storm, but I don't think it's going to get to that level because I think it's going to come into some land before it can really strengthen. Why I'm saying this is although the sea surface temperatures down here in the Gulf of America are very favorable, they're boiling down there, the tropical depression down here, or tropical cyclone chance I should say, is going to be really coming into landfall, and it's not going to be working over those favorable sea surface temperatures for too long. And I don't think it has enough time to really get its act together is basically what I'm trying to say here. But if anything does interact with these favorable sea surface temperatures out here, the main development region or in the Gulf, could be definitely coming into a major tropical storm or hurricane in the near term. So I'm thinking the Atlantic is going to really start picking up, and it's been a slow start so far this year, at least compared to last year. Last year we already had Beryl rolling through. That was in July of last year. Of course, this year we haven't had much except for a tropical storm and this potential tropical depression out there. And as we take a look at the satellite right quick, we can see that potential tropical cyclone down there. It's going to be bringing a lot of heavy rainfall with it, regardless if it turns into a tropical storm or a tropical depression, as the Weather Protection Center has already issued a moderate risk down here in Louisiana and a slight risk, which extends all the way out into Mississippi and parts of Alabama and a little bit of the panhandle of Florida as well. Now, I don't want to jump around too much, but I want to show you all these similar to infrared radar, what we could expect with this potential tropical depression. We can see that it's just mainly going to be a tropical depression, at most probably tropical storm, and it's going to be bringing a lot of heavy precipitation as we head into and potentially past this weekend. So some weekend plans down here in the southeast could unfortunately get ruined by this 40% cyclone formation chance. And as we take a look at the national blend of models all the way out through, I would say, Saturday, Sunday, right around 2 to 4 inches of heavy precipitation is going to be possible from this tropical cyclone chance, possibly tropical depression, I would say, by this time. So definitely live in a low-lying area. Please be aware of this. See a floater roadway, turn around, don't drown. Just use your common sense. I know it's not too common nowadays, but please use it. So now that I beat the dead horse on that tropical cyclone chance, I wouldn't be too worried about it, but please, again, be prepared for flooding down there if you live down there anywhere here in the Gulf Coast and some parts of the southeast as well. Now, the Eastern Pacific has been very active this year, and of course, looking like that tropical cyclone activity is going to start to slow down a little bit as we head into the end of the month. Central Pacific, not much out there either. And speaking of the Pacific Basin, you can see the sea surface temperatures out there are definitely not as favorable as they once was. And that's why the tropical activity is starting to slow down a little bit compared to what it was a couple months ago. So that's some good news if you live out here by Hawaii at least. As we take a look at the satellite, of course, not much out there, just some heavy rainfall here out west of Mexico, and Hawaii actually looks pretty good, honestly. And as we take a look at the GFS, to take a look at the simulated infrared, see not much out there, just some heavy rainfall off the coast of Mexico, and Hawaii could be coming in on some showers as we head into the end of the month. Basically, we got severe weather the next couple of days here in the central and eastern part of the country, and the Atlantic is looking to pick up in tropical activity while the Pacific is starting to slow down. So now that we know all that, let's go ahead and get into the forecast, what we could expect for the next couple of weeks. Now to take a look at what we could expect for the next couple of weeks, we're going to take a look at the precipitation first. Y'all may saw on the precipitation map, we got a lot of heavy rainfall up here from the 22nd to the 24th, and they have actually issued a slight risk for heavy precipitation from the plains all the way down into Michigan. And as we take a look at the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook by the Climate Protection Center, we can see much of the northern half and eastern half of the country is coming in on above average precipitation, while the southwest is going to dry out, as well as the west central part of the country. Next 8 to 14 days looks like much of the same story. Much of the southeast is going to be really, really wet, especially down here in the deep south, while the west central part of the country is going to dry out in Texas. Y'all are going to finally get some relief from that flooding that y'all been getting in on, so that's some good news down there anyway. So let's go ahead and get into what we could expect for the next couple of weeks. We already know about the severe weather the next couple of days, and we already know about that 40% chance of tropical cyclone formation, which is going to probably, at most, be a tropical depression or a tropical storm at the most. Bring a lot of heavy precipitation down here in the Gulf Coast states. Some weekend plans could get ruined, unfortunately, if you live here out east. And it's looking like some severe that could return as we head into and past this weekend. Could be an uptick in some severe here at the end of the month. And it's looking like the western part of the country is going to start to dry out, at least here in the central and southwest part of the country. So that's some good news out there. But it's looking like the eastern part of the country as we head further out and towards the end of the month. It's looking like it's just going to be a soggy end of the month here out east. And it's kind of unusual. We're usually dry as a bone this time of year. And I think August is when we see our driest point of the year here in the eastern part of the country. But it's looking like it's just going to be a soggy end of the month here out east compared to the western part of the country. As we take a look at the upper Midwest here from the 22nd into the 24th, we can see the reason why they issued that slight risk for a heavy precipitation. We can see right around 2 to possibly 4 inches in some areas here in the upper Midwest, mainly because of system after system rolling through here at the end of the month, bringing severe weather and some heavy precipitation. So please be aware of this if you live in a low-lying area. Stay off the roadway, use your common sense, and turn around and do not drown. So basically, as we take a look at the precipitation outlook, I would expect the end of the month to be very soggy and very stormy here in the eastern part of the country, while it's going to dry out here in the west central and southwest part of the country, with some tropical activity picking up here in the Atlantic and in the Gulf. Now that we know all that, let's go ahead and get into the temperatures of what we could expect. It is July, so I mean, it's typically hot this time of year, so we can see that the Climate Protection Center has issued a slight risk for hazardous temperatures here in the central and eastern part of the country, which what else is new? It is summertime. As we take a look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, we can see the northwest is going to be cooling down a little bit, as well as down here by California, as below normal temperatures are expected. But much of the country is coming into a heat wave. Y'all may see on the thumbnail coming in on a pressure cooking heat wave here in the central and eastern part of the country. And of course, on the next 8 to 14 days, much of the same story, but it's looked like the majority of the country is coming into a major heat wave as we head towards the end of the month. As we take a look at the temperatures, we can see today it's going to be hot for much of the country unless you live up here in the northern plains, and especially up here by Montana. If y'all hate the heat, go up there to Montana. It's going to be pretty nice up there. And it's looking like we could be cooling down a little bit, at least compared to what it has been here in the north central part of the country. The rest of the country is going to be hot though, and it's looking like we could be cooling down drastically here as we head towards the weekend. But don't let these cool temperatures fool y'all though, because the Climate Protection Center did issue a slight risk from the 22nd all the way into the 24th for hazardous temperatures, and we are coming into the dog days of summer. It did come in on a record amount of 90-degree days here in Indiana at least, and it's looking like 100-degree temperatures are going to start to make a return and stick around for a while as we head into the end of the month, y'all. So it is summertime. Pretty typical to see that, but it's kind of unusual to see it being very wet here at the end of the month, so we'll take it. I'm not complaining about that. But let's go and take a look at the apparent temperatures here in the central part of the country. And we're going to fast forward to the 22nd into the 24th, where the Climate Protection Center issued the slight risk for hazardous temperatures. We can see the heat indexes are going to be in the hundreds, and some areas being close to the mid-hundreds, especially down here, down by Memphis. So definitely go cool off up here in the Smoky Mountains, and go cool off up here in Montana if you hate the heat, y'all. I don't mind it as much. I know older people typically hate hotter weather. I don't blame them though, but I'm a hot weather kind of guy. I like hot weather as long as there's air conditioning. If there's not air conditioning, of course, we don't like it. And speaking of dog days of summer, do you know that the dog days of summer is actually not related to dogs? It's actually related to some sort of star. I'll put the definition right here, but dog days is not actually related to dogs. It's actually just related to astronomy, which is pretty cool. So if y'all stayed this far in the video, I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for watching. And as a treat for y'all for sticking around, here is some astronomy, at least of what the Webb telescope is observing as of right now. Looking like it's observing a supermassive black hole and active galaxies. So that's pretty cool. And the Hubble telescope, what they're observing, it's like they are observing exoplanets and exoplanet formations still. So as I thank y'all for watching, there's some astronomical stuff that is going on out there. So hopefully y'all enjoyed that, and hopefully y'all enjoyed the new setup. Might change it around a little bit, so bear with me. I showed the background. I know the background's a little bit different as well. So again, basically it's looking like the next couple of weeks is going to be very, very hot, which what else is new? We're in the dog days of summer. And it's going to be surprisingly wet here in the central and eastern part of the country, with the Atlantic picking up in tropical activity. Now the western part of the country is looking like it's going to start to dry a little bit, so that's been good news for some parts of that area down there. Some areas down there have been coming in on some flash flooding, so prepare for the heat and prepare for some very soggy conditions there, outies. So again, appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Leave me some feedback in the comment section down below, as feedback helps provide you, the viewer, better and more informative content in the future. And make sure to follow my X and Facebook pages, as well as I do publish a daily newspaper and some more content on there, breaking down anything from sports, weather, to astronomical events, to the weather of the day, and more. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all y'all for watching. Stay cool, stay dry, and until next time, never stop forecasting.